Alright, so in today's fighter analysis video, we'll be covering Cory Sandhagen, who is a top contender in the bantamweight division. He is arguably one of the better strikers, or more, I would say, well-balanced fighters in the division. Very good takedown defense. Has decent grappling because of his takedown defense. And overall, just a really good striker. He throws some flashy knees here and there, some nice kicks, spinning attacks here and there as well. All in all, he's a very intriguing fighter and very calculated fighter. If you love watching a fighter that's calculated and likes to set up traps in the middle of a fight, Cory Sandhagen is your guy. Definitely one of the bigger bantamweights. He's humongous for the weight class. I would have loved to see him fight O'Malley, but obviously he just came off a loss against Umar Nurmagomedov in a very close fight. You'd say that his takedown defense was very impressive in that match, but to be fair, Nurmagomedov's striking was also very effective in that match, and he proved that he's not one-dimensional with just grappling. So, all in all, very good performance from Sandhagen, but he always comes and he always shows up. I don't think I think he's gonna be a gatekeeper for a while. I don't think he loses to anyone above the top 5, excluding Umar Nurmagomedov, because Nurmagomedov clearly wouldn't have got the opportunity against Sandhagen if he wasn't good enough. But all in all, I think Sandhagen is a massive threat. We'll get over his career after this fight, but I'm just gonna be pretty much mimicking his fighting style here against Thomas Almeida. Almeida is, I don't think, is even in the UFC anymore, if I'm not mistaken. I don't even remember watching any of his fights post the O'Malley KO. So yeah, just Sandhagen throws really good long punches, jab and cross here and there, and then sometimes he throws kicks. He throws a lot of like front kicks and spinning kicks, and sometimes you see him go for a knee like that. That's the same knee he knocked out Frankie Edgar with.
30 seconds now to go in the opening round.
Yeah, I'm not the best. I always say this every time I make an analysis video, but I'm not the best UFC 5 player, so you're gonna have to bear with me with the way I play. But I'm just trying to mimic his fighting style. This is on hard, by the way, in case in case you didn't think I suck that badly. I don't. But yeah, like I said, Sandhagen's fighting style is to just pick his opponent apart. He might look a bit inactive. In my opinion, he isn't. I think he's just cautious. But yeah, he moves around a lot as well. Keeps his hands pretty low, so it's hard to tell what he's gonna do. He's an effective striker, very effective.
Again with a beautiful jab.
I honestly think his grappling is super underrated. I don't think it's underrated now because of his fight with Umar. He proved himself. But I do think a lot of people thought he was more of a striker than a grappler. But I think the Rob Font fight, his fight with Rob Font, which by the way was very boring, was already the ice on the pudding about his grappling. I think he's a great grappler. I just think the Nurmagomedov or something else when it comes to grappling. Don't get me wrong, Sandhagen didn't do any offensive grappling against Nurmagomedov, but he was transitioning and defending takedowns very well. So that's a good signal of how talented he is on the ground. Yeah, let's get Almeida out of here. He's very long, so you can just make advantage of his reach for this weight class. His reach is definitely gonna be a problem. And yeah, man, he gets flashy KOs, bro. His knockouts are super flashy, super clean.
All right, so we're starting to see some
Nothing
swelling
wild,
down, DC. We'll see if he can make some
nothing
adjustments
like would
defensively.
look.
Taking too many of these shots
It's
are
always a
tough.
settle,
I mean, he's got to move his head right
and that's
away.
why I
He's
find him so
waiting,
intriguing.
being reactive.
I think the
He's
reason
got to
why
be
he doesn't get
active in your
as much
motions
love as some of the
before
top
your opponent
contenders
sets
is
up their attacks.
in any weight division is because he's just not a guy that talks much.
All right,
You
so an
know, he does
opportunity
all
goes
his
by the
talking in
blue
the
team.
fight.
Stunned, nearly finished,
He
and now his
does
opponent has recovered.
a lot of work
Moment
in his
discovered.
training
Now
camps.
he's got to deal with every
Just
competitor he's
always
gonna bring at him.
accepts fights. Never backs down from a fight.
Both fighters
I don't
throwing
think
heat
he's ever
now.
declined a matchup.
Tries the
He's
flying
he's
knee
not
to no
he's
avail.
not shy for a challenge. I think a lot of people were scared to take that fight with Nurmagomedov, hence why Sandhagen and
You wonder if
eventually
the
ended up
offensive fighters going to start to
having
get
to take
frustrated
it.
here. Most skipped on all these shots are getting blocked.
They're getting blocked
He
because
risked
he's
his
fighting one of the
opportunity
best
to
defensive
potentially get a
fighters
title
in
shot
the UFC.
after beating the likes of
So
Tito
a much
Vera
different approach
and
for
Rob
him here in this
Font
second round. He was a
by
little bit
taking the
tentative in
Nurmagomedov
round one, a
fight,
little bit of a
but
feeling out process.
honestly, his
Now he
mindset
has
is exactly
clearly
like
found
what
his
every
rhythm,
fighter should
found the
be.
range. We'll see if he can continue
If
with more activity
Sandhagen
here in
truly
round two.
deserved this title shot, then he's supposed to be the best in the weight
15
class,
seconds remain in
excluding
the
the
round.
champion. You know, like he had to take that fight with Nurmagomedov to prove to himself that he does actually deserve the title shot and that
His opponent's chin
he
held
could
up.
take down a hype train like Nurmagomedov if he was to ever be champion. Because if he didn't fight Nurmagomedov now and got the title shot and possibly beat
All right, so
O'Malley,
as this next round gets
he
underway,
wouldn't have
hopefully the
he
good
wouldn't
action we
have
saw in the last round will
he would have
continue.
lost to
Both fighters
Nurmagomedov in his
certainly
first
had
title
their ups and
defense.
downs. Both got the offense
So
going, but now we'll see if one fighter or
Sandhagen's
the other
mentality is
can
not to
really
get the
take
belt
control
for
of
the
what has
sake
been
of
a
getting
very
the
close
belt.
fight
He
thus
wants
far.
to get the belt knowing that he's going to be able to keep it for a long time. And that's
Well, not
a
only has he
mentality that
stayed
not a lot of
aggressive
fighters
as he
have.
was in the previous round, landing a high
So
volume of strikes, but
most
he's
fighters
also
just
been
want to reach the
efficient, not
milestone
just
and
with his
just
strikes, but
they
also
won't
with his
care
body
after. A lot of
movement.
fighters don't keep
Complete
their
performance out of this
title for
fighter here
long
tonight.
after capturing it. So
Almeida's nose is bleeding now, so
I
we'll
think
see how he
that's
handles that
a
adversity.
huge
But
downfall
nothing
of many
ideal about it
fighters
here in
in
the middle of
general
this fight.
regarding their longevity, regarding their
Oh,
consistency.
big knee.
Only very few fighters actually took their title reign seriously,
What a
like the
beautiful
likes
leg
of
kick that
Khabib,
landed there.
Kamar Usman,
Well, he's always working off of that jab. Nice jab there by
Daniel
Sam.
Cormier.
Well, it's been
Just
a wild fight thus far. Perhaps a
the
contender for some
names go
bonus
on,
money
but
that fight tonight.
you'd be surprised
These guys
about
are
how
gonna have
many
to dig deep. They're
champions
both hurt.
They're
didn't
both
last
hurt.
long
You
simply
expected
because
it, though.
they
You
lacked
expected a close
the
fight.
urgency
You did not
to be the
expect
best in the world.
See, you don't want to eat too much.
Let's take a dive into Cory Sandhagen's current UFC career. As of right now, Cory Sandhagen is the number 4 ranked UFC bantamweight contender. He has a record of 17 wins and 5 losses. He has 7 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission, and 6 of his finishes come in the first round. He has a 41% KO victory rate and a 18% submission victory rate. He has landed most of his significant strikes to the head. 663 of his strikes, that is 66% of his strikes, have landed to the head of their opponents. Majority of his strikes do land while standing. However, he does have a lot of strikes on the ground as well. His standing strikes are 845. That's 84% of his strikes. He has a significant strike defense of 57% and a takedown defense of 63%. Sounds bad, but if you look at the people he's fought regarding the takedowns, you'll understand why his takedown defense may not be the highest percentage. However, his takedown defense has improved tremendously, at least in the most recent fights. He has a knockdown average of 0.3, so that shows you he's more of a technical striker rather than a blitzer. And he has an average fight time of 14 minutes and 23 seconds in the UFC. He has a takedown accuracy of 32%. So the takedowns he's landed are 1, and the takedowns he's attempted is 50. He has a striking accuracy of 44%. those are all the stats that are to do with Cory Sandhagen. Regarding his career in the UFC, it's a pretty solid run. I would like to say that. Um, he's been in the UFC since the beginning of 2018. He fought Arnett. He fought Alcantara. He fought Bautista, Mario Bautista, who's currently one of the ranked contenders, and he beat them all by finishes. He beat Bautista by submission in 2019. He beat in round one. He beat Alcantara and Arnett in his first two fights in 2018 via KO/TKO. Um, he had a decision fight against uh, Lineker. He had another fight against Sun Xiao, and then he got into his fight with Aljamain Sterling, former UFC bantamweight champion, and of course, he got taken down and submitted in the first round, which was quite like an impressive victory for Sterling. I would say it's one of his most impressive victories because when you look at how the way Sandhagen was defending takedowns with Umar Nurmagomedov, when you look at the way he was taking down Rob Font, when you look at the way he was piecing up Chito Vera, when you look at the way he was landing and finishing guys like Marlon Moraes and Frankie Edgar, who are short and tend to lead down a lot. You would think that he would do what Marlon Moraes did to Aljamain Sterling. I know Marlon Moraes attempted to go for a kick and accidentally landed a knee on Aljamain Sterling, therefore KOing him. But at least Sandhagen legitimately has a proper knee to throw up the middle for those type of scenarios. So you would think that Sandhagen would do a lot better against Aljo, but that just goes to show that styles make fights and anything can happen in MMA. But besides that, he ended up fighting Marlon Moraes after that loss and KO'd him with a spinning heel kick to the head. He knocked out Frankie Edgar, which was one of the nastiest knockouts I've ever seen in my life, with a flying knee. He then lost this very controversial split decision against TJ Dillashaw. Very close fight, by the way. I mean, I saw like a post that showed that it was the most even match ever, and it was very justifiable to call it as a draw. A lot of people had Sandhagen winning that fight. A lot of people had TJ winning that fight. It was very close, but at the end, Dillashaw did win that fight, which therefore earned him the title shot against Aljo, which didn't end well, obviously. Um, then Sandhagen fought Petr Yan, and he lost that fight as well. It was a very close fight once again. Petr Yan is a very slow burner. We'll have a video on him later, I'd assume, but he's a very slow burner in that cage. He doesn't really open up until later rounds. He usually makes reads on you in the beginning, very similar to Sandhagen and also very similar to Chito Vera. But Sandhagen is just more active in the first round in comparison to both of those guys. He does make reads, but he also doesn't stay inactive in that cage. He But yeah, Petr Yan beat him in a very nice, fun fight. But Sandhagen did well in that fight. Um, then Sandhagen fought Song Yadong, and he beat him by a doctor stoppage in round four. It was a very bad injury on Song Yadong, but Cory Sandhagen obviously did not want it to end that way, but he was putting a striking master class in that match. Was doing very well in that fight, and then he got obviously that main event match against Chito Vera. I don't know how that fight ended up as a split decision. I think honestly Sandhagen won it very convincingly. I'm not quite sure what the judges were on in that fight. Um, but that win laid up the fight against Rob Font in the end of 2023, and that was one of the worst fights I've ever watched. It was a main event. Did not like that fight whatsoever. But Sandhagen did what he should do as a fighter to win, and Rob Font is a really good boxer, so Sandhagen kept on taking him down and took advantage of the control time, and he beat him convincingly. But then, of course, Sandhagen eventually got into his fight with not Usman, sorry, Umar Nurmagomedov. A year later, literally a year later, he fought Umar Nurmagomedov, stayed inactive for a whole year. I'm guessing he was waiting for a title shot, but then there was a little bit of confusion with what was going on with Aljo and O'Malley at the time. Also with Merab not being able to take his title shot against Aljo because they're teammates. I'm sure there was a lot of things going on that led to Sandhagen staying out for that long. I don't. If he did have an injury, I didn't know about it. Um, I don't go that heavily into the politics of the MMA universe, but we saw that fight with Umar. Umar is very skilled, you know, and although Sandhagen did lose to a guy that's outside of the top 10, it wasn't just any random guy. It was Umar Nurmagomedov. And if they put you in a fight against a guy in the top 3 and you're not even in the top 10, that goes to show that you belong somewhere that you're not in right now, as of right now. Like when Hamzat Chimaev fought Gilbert Burns, he was ranked number 11, I think, and Gilbert Burns was ranked number 3. And look what it is like right now. Chimaev is in the like top 3, top 2, and well, he got into the top 3 and top 2 because of his victory against Gilbert Burns. His inactivity, obviously, and his move up to middleweight is what left him for that in the welterweight division. But even then, he was ranked in the welterweight division despite being inactive in it for quite some time after that Gilbert Burns victory. But we'll get into that another time. Moral of the story: Sandhagen, he only has 5 losses, and his losses are against some of the best guys. I mean, he lost to Piotr Jan, who was at one point one of if not the best bantamweight in the UFC. Um, um, he he still is actually Piotr Jan, but you get the gist. TJ Dillashaw is a former champion, and he had a lot of time to recover and all those PD allegations and his suspension. He lost to Aljo, obviously, who is a former champ. And yeah, he didn't lose to anyone that isn't worthy, you know. All of his losses are against the best fighters. So he's not a journeyman by any means. He's and I wouldn't even say he's a gatekeeper either. Maybe he's a gatekeeper now, but I'm sure a title shot um, will be in his future eventually. You know, I think he's very skilled, and I think just with time, when he gets the opportunity, he will strike. He'll definitely learn a lot. I mean, it's hard for a fighter with barely any flaws like Sandhagen to really work or improve on anything. I mean, I guess one take I will take from Umar Nurmagomedov's fight is that Sandhagen needs to open up more, but then again, it's hard to do it when you have such a great grappler like Umar in front of you. I think if Sandhagen just threw more down the middle shots against wrestlers, um, and also had more like submission or better jiu-jitsu on the ground and like was able to be offensive with submissions. I think that's where his flaws are. I think if he works on that, he could definitely be a legitimate threat. So yeah, I think his weakest part of his game is his jiu-jitsu. I think he's not a bad wrestler. I think his takedown defense is outstanding, and I think his striking is very good. I just think he needs to just find himself in the ground against the elite fighters. If there's anything that requires work against the elite fighters, is his jiu-jitsu. I say elite fighters because his jiu-jitsu is definitely good enough to take out anyone, excluding the top 5. But anyways, that's my assessment on Cory Sandhagen. I look forward to his future fights. I'm not sure what's in his cards for the rest of the year and next year regarding his loss with Umar was just uh, less than a week ago. But he's very talented and he has a lot of potential, and we'll see what happens with him.